Hola! Welcome to my gear room where we work with this guy. In this session, we'll be doing the elevated protection. The second session is a bit more progressive and a bit more violent. And again, a disclaimer, I can't show you too many technical things due to liability and contractual obligations I have. But another disclaimer will be that some of the stuff we cover in this session will be uncomfortable. But, like I tell my students, the world out there doesn't care. They're mean. They're violent. They will threaten you. So I teach my students to find comfort when they're not uncomfortable. That's what we're doing here, is dealing with fear. Because sometimes, as you know, fear is going to make you freeze. And you're going to be like, whoa, what am I going to do? That's the untrained mind. Even as a Marine, we were trained as young Marines that your fear is part of life and engagement. So you got to learn through training to control and manage that fear. Again, repeating from the first session, the top 3 components, which we'll briefly cover here: situational awareness, fear management, and having a committed plan. So for us, people react to fear differently. You might be outside loading groceries at night after working all day, and somebody walks up to you, or you see a shadow, and they startle you. It could be an actual person or a shadow, and you're like, whoa. You'll get shocked. You'll feel that electricity go through your body. It's like a shocking electricity, and then you're tingly feeling, and you calm down. Oh, it's just a bird flying at night, whatever the case is. So for us, here, we went through that avoidance and awareness. They didn't pay attention to the bad guy. We talked about the thug, enraged person, drunk druggie, or sociopath. Now you're in that room with that dude or that girl, and she's pouring liquor down your throat, and you're like, come on, I got to get out of here. It was nice meeting you, but I got to go. And she's holding on to you. Situational awareness, the tactile aspect, where they're touching you inappropriately. This is not a good situation. I got to create my boundaries. You're aware, right? My exit's that way. I could do dialogue, diffusion, distraction, deterrence. You have D's, what we talk about in our other classes here in Tucson, where the first thing you want to do is diffuse, de-escalate, distract by communication, having those hands up. Distraction would be, hey, somebody's calling me on the phone right now, and get out of that room. That's just an example for you if you're at these conferences and meet sociopaths, because they're out there. Keep it real. They're out there, and they all just see you as objects. So for self-defense, we not only cover physical tactics, but also mental aspects, and being aware of how they act is important and very important. Hola, are you ready? Well, let's get ready. We'll be learning some really cool tactics today in relation to personal defense, self-defense, protecting yourself and others while driving your car, inside your car. A lot of folks know, of course, to put on your seatbelt. You all know that. But what about locking your door when you're inside the car? A lot of people forget that. They always remember locking it when they leave the car, but what about when you're in the car? You're important. So we'll be speaking about some plans when we're dealing with potential threats that are out there. Violence. The violence could be different types. It could range from being a road rage, a roadblock, a carjacking situation. It could be a person that you knew or know, and they're stalking you and they found you. It could be whatever. It could be anything. And they get aggressive on you, and you got to deal with it. And of course, we've talked about Irving, the other classes, and the other online classes. With Summer, you probably have taken that one where you breathe, get a thought in there. What am I going to do? So with us, our plan is, yes, first breathe. But when you're in that car and something's going on, situational awareness is so important, meaning that you're using your eyes, your breath, your nose, your smell, your touch. If something happens where you can't see, it gets too dark, maybe it's dark in the car, you get into an accident. So our plan will be, if there's a violent confrontation or something coming towards us and we can't leave and we're stuck in that car, the car broke down, or we're barely turning on the car, or they box us in, that is not good. If you have a person with you, a VIP, victim, innocent, or principal, victim being that maybe that is an ex-boyfriend or girlfriend and they're going to be the victim of an assault, and I'm the innocent person, I'm in the way, and they attack me. The principal could be that she hires me to protect her against a boyfriend, or he does to protect him against a girlfriend. A lot of people out there have mental issues that are malignant personality disorders. You've heard of narcissists, I'm sure. The DSM, there's a manual that psychologists use that relate to seeing how people view the world, and they view the world in a skewed way, specifically malignant, narcissist, and malignant borderline personality disorder individuals. Those are the types that if you don't agree with them, they'll get upset completely, they'll frame you, they will accuse you, and then eventually it might escalate into violence. And I've dealt with a lot of students that have dealt with folks that have had personality disorders under the DSM, their cluster B. And it's not only those carjackers or those robbers or the thieves that are out there, there's just regular folks you know. It could be a roommate, girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, it could be a coworker. And if you just don't agree with them and you see something's up with them and you call them out on it, they'll flip on you. And the way they flip on you is many different ways. That's another class, though. So when we're in a vehicle, we're dealing with that idea of having plans, because plans are good, right? Fear is a natural reaction. You'll either freeze up, you'll fly, run away, you'll fight, or you will fawn. Fawn will be another portion in this class where you'll deal with talking your way out of it and acting like you agree with them. It could be a person coming to the window and they're asking you to raise your fist and say something. You're not going to agree with them. You might. But you'll fawn and you'll get out of there. You can do that. Or you can fight. In this scenario, it's more of a scenario of they're on you and the window's open. So another important thing is to have that window closed. If you're in confrontation, close that window. Say bolo to your VIP. Bolo, again, is a code word to snap them out of whatever they're doing to help you out. Be on the lookout. And they have a plan on their own. If they hear bolo, and if they're my best friend, they know that their job is to film the situation or to call 911 or to act like they have a heart attack or whatever the situation they choose to do. Our plan is, if the window is open, or if for some reason the perp breaks the window, perp being the bad person, and the perp could be a carjacker, a person in a roadblock, a cluster B, freaked out individual who's enraged, road raged, and they approach their vehicle, or girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, ex-girlfriend, and my VIP is sitting here, they could be looking at their phone, checking Instagram, Snapchatting, whatever. And if I say bolo, then sorry, they'll know what to do. My plan would be the 3 L's we talked about, working with latch, lock, and light. You could replace the light with the lean aspect. The light would be hitting the hazard lights, or lighting them up and say, yo, get your weapon out. That's a different class as well. So here's an example, and I'll show you more examples with my students later on, and more dynamic action, and they'll do a little slow so you can see the technique we're talking about right in here. So you're driving along, all of a sudden, boom, there's a road rage situation going on. The guy steps out, you're like, whoa, bolo. You want to immediately release that latch, ensure the door's locked, hit the light, and turn your body and lean. And now you have your hands up. The hazard lights are on, maybe if you're alone, to indicate to someone out there something's going on. You could even hit Siri or Alexis. I don't know who that is. Both people in the car, you hit them, and they'll call 911. So here your hands are up, and you're leaning back. Leaning back is so important. And in more advanced training, we would go into like gouging with the eyes. All it is would be flicking the fingers out, just like that, or scratching, or hammer strikes. This is your choice on what you want to do. But first, you do want to fawn. You might be scared in fear mode, but having a plan, take 2 deep breaths, let them yell, scream, whatever. And you do have to assess them. Again, situational awareness being listening to what they're saying, smelling to see if they're reeking of alcohol, and kind of watching their body language. And maybe the situation will calm down, and if it doesn't, then you'll engage and go further. But you do want to, initially, running upon a roadblock, if you can, back up, J-turn, get out. J-turn is more advanced training in driving. Or if you have to, burst through at an angle, hit the curb at 45 degrees, and go that way. That's another more advanced training. But situational awareness, to keep it basic, would be like, whoa, my car just died. Or they shot up my engine block, and now I can't drive. I got to do something to fight in my car. So reviewing again, the plan would be situational awareness first, using bolo for your partner here so they know what to do. They might unlatch as well and do their own thing and work with you as a team. If the window gets broken, you're like, whoa, this is not good. I'm going to engage in battle. You're going to unlatch, safety belt, hit the lock, or up here, hit the light, lean back. So you work in your L's, your VIP, BOLO, situational awareness, controlling that fear, taking those breaths, and then having a committed plan is very important. My plan is, as Bruce, I'm going to jack them up. I'm going to teach them a lesson. Now, my grandma's in the car, and I've done this before. I've had situations where there was a road rage situation. My parents were in the back, my little sister's in the front, and it was a truck driver, and that's for another day. But I had to make plans in relation to what they were going to react like with my parents, and I'm not going to really get into it now, but there was another road rage situation, a carjacking situation, a doofus cop I had to deal with, and the same thing went through, put the hands on the thing, he starts talking some trash. Luckily, Summer was in the car filming him, and we wrote him up. We actually reported him to the police, his lieutenant, which I knew from the past. I knew a lieutenant from the past. But in this circumstance, situational awareness, controlling that fear, having a committed plan. My plan, again, is, and again, you'll see a lot of repetition in our classes here, just like dance, when you're practicing a new move or a shine pattern, you want to repeat it often, get confident with it. Same thing, you have time on a Sunday afternoon, you want to hang out with your buddy, your girlfriend, friend, kids, whatever, teach your kids the same thing. Maybe give them a task. Their job's going to be VIP. You're a very important person, or victim innocent principle, and then teach them about their job of calling 911, what to say on the phone. We talk about that as well in detail in other classes where the top 3 are that acronym LID. We have a lot of acronyms. I'm former military. We have a lot of acronyms. Location, issue, description. So if it's a kid in the car, you're like, "Whoa, kiddo, your plan is this." Their plan is what? Dial 911. Latch, lock, light, lean. Fawn, fake it, fight. Boom, 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 boom. Get out of here, drive. Burst through, forward, 45 degrees, or back up J-turn. Again, that's more advanced training, but that's my plan, right? If a weapon comes in the car, that's a different story. We have other more advanced training for that here in Tucson where I teach, and we may show you a clip of my senior students do some of that if they have time. But it could be a gun in the vehicle, they're carjacking, they're trying to fiddle here, trying to open the door, and you're like, "Whoa, what am I going to do? What's my plan?" Breathe. What I got to think about, what I got to say, how do I say it, what do I say to my partner here, and what do I say to them to calm them down, and then engage in battle. It could be a deflection of the weapon, hammer strike their hand, take the weapon, shoot them, drive on, give the gun to the kid who's been well-trained. If they're my kid, they're well-trained. Then I just drive away, drive forward, burst through the roadblock, go 45 degrees, back up J-turn. So, finale. Dealing with fear. You're going to go through it. Driving along, roadblock, road rage, carjacker, intersection, you're stuck. Parking lot, you're ready to leave. You unlatch, lock, light, lean. Now you also got to work through those ABCs we've talked about in relation to when you're anchoring. Again, more acronyms. The BOLO is an acronym, be on lookout. LID, location, issue, description, and then you also have your ABCs. When you're anchoring your body, you're going to pivot in such a way where you're anchoring with the elbow, you're bracing with your feet below here, and then you have your combatives ready to rock and roll. Combatives meaning that your hands could be either flicking, scratching, gouging, hammer striking. So you have many different variables when you're doing your ABCs in relation to what you want to do to defend yourself, and be wary of how you lean into them. Like I mentioned earlier with the gun defense or a knife to your throat, how you could deflect that knife and just wail at their face. Take the knife out, cut them, put the knife down, give it to your kid, drive out of there. More advanced training. Finale. Here we go again. You're driving along. What are your threats? Road rage, roadblock, ex-boyfriend, girlfriend, carjacker, robbery. Whoa, roadblock, you stop. You're walking up, BOLO. Lock, latch, light, ABC. Anchor, elbow, right here. Brace below with your feet. I'm not sure if you can see that, but my feet are braced nice and strong to give you a great strong position to strike the perp that's outside. As well, if I was inside, I could also turn this way, lean, brace, anchor here, and I could deal with this. It could be an Uber driver, or maybe you're an Uber driver and the person gets in the car It could be a person who opened your door on that side, and you're like in a rental car or something, and they open it, and you're like, whoa. Same thing with the latches. Leaning, locking, hitting that. Why would I lock here? Well, maybe they're deflecting or distracting me, and they're working in a team. Maybe I'm in Colombia somewhere visiting, right? I rented a car, and los sicarios trabajan juntos. They work together, and like, whoa, that guy's distracting me, but the guy back here is going to pull me out, let's say, right? But not if I'm ready to rock and roll. I can swivel both ways. So anchoring, bracing, compressing, combatives. We'll get into combatives in a little bit. So we were talking about the gouging, the scratching, which is really instinctual and easy to do. Anybody can do that. And what you're going for, and again, you don't want to get too aggressive, but you're going for their eyeballs. And this is only used if you cannot get away, you cannot run away, you cannot talk your way out of it. You're going, again, for those eyes, to distract for that moment, 1 minute, 1 second, whatever the case is, to get out of there. Now, other combatives you can use, again, leaning into your car and using it, it'll still be effective if they're on you, as well as doing your stomping straight down. You're going up and down, just like this. Now, that kick could go out as well. And what you're doing is bracing, holding on to whatever you can, and you're shooting for their knees, primarily. That's if you're stuck, right? So from the car, you saw how I kicked out with that push kick. It's also called a stomp. This one, you're leaning back, scratching, combining it with that stomp straight to the ground. And if you have to, you end up with that hammer strike, striking down, as if you're holding a hammer and building a little birdhouse. Just like this. So that's the downward hammer strike that we have. I talked about that one. And then we have the side hammer strike, which you can use in your car. So in this circumstance, you're in a car, you're the passenger, and you're not engaging with someone. Your friend over here is engaging with someone. You have bowl in the mind. Be on lookout. I turn on my camera. Maybe I have a weapon on me. Maybe you have a lighter. I light it, burn their hand, whatever the case is. I have multiple things I'm thinking about as a passenger. He can't drive. He can't leave. The guy's on me. What do? I do the same thing my buddy did over here with the locking. Take off my seatbelt. And now I'm going to do that ABC, right? The light could be hitting the horn, announcing something, hitting hazard lights, or leaning out like this. If he's on me, I'm going to start hammer striking just like this. That hammer strike we talked about before, and it's an easy tactic to use because your elbow is within and you're hinging very fast. Scratching works as effectively as well, going for the eyeball. And all it is, you're reaching out, but the danger here is that you could break a finger. The best one is that hammer strike, and you're always leaning back. The same thing with your ABC, you're anchoring, you're bracing, and you're doing the combatives. So we were talking about the falls earlier. To review that again, situational awareness is key in this as well, where you're looking around, making sure there's no glass, rocks, but in a real confrontation, what are you going to do? You could angle in such a way that if you fall away from those rocks or the shards of glass, maybe something was broken. You have that position having one knee down, one knee up. Catch the water in your hands. We always say that, and my students know that in Dallas. We kind of talk about silly things in class. You're catching water, right? Put it on your shoulders, tuck your chin. You're going to roll back first with your butt going back first. So your butt's going to extend out first. You're going to tuck your chin and keep it there. You're going to fall back and hit the deck. Come up with those hands, put them by your face, have one foot up, one foot down. Here you could throw out one kick if you have to, always kicking for their knees, not their face, and then roll onto the side. And again, my students from Dallas, they know this silly analogy. You'll be sitting here at the beach. You're going to have an elbow dug into your knee, a foot down here, or up if you need to kick them. And you can move around at angles too to deal with the perpetrator who might be attacking you, kicking the guy, the bad person, and kicking their heel as you were their shin, just like this, right? What if this perpetrator attacks you? It's going to be scary. Yeah, fear is part of what you have to deal with when you're engaging in battle, but controlling that fear is the best thing you can do, and having that breath. Like Summer said in her workshop, her online class, taking those breaths, counting to 3. But now you're getting attacked. All that is involved. You're taking that breath, controlling your fear, and having a plan is so important. Plan here, I fell down. What I'm going to do, tuck my chin, number 1. Slap that ground, dissipate the energy. Falls, when we teach these, come from judo. Krav Maga has a lot of fall technique, fight technique on the ground. What happens if this guy jumps on you, and he's wailing on you, punching you? Well, in this scenario, you're going to cover where to strike, and those tools that we've been using before with the combatives. Combatives being the strike tools. If this perp is on top of you this way, whoa, this is kind of scary. What do? You put those hands up, right? You could gouge, you could slap, palm strike, you could hammer strike, go wailing on the guy, and eventually he might get off of you, right? And start kicking from this position with your head up. So here, if you can see it, zoom in and get closer, what you're doing is scratching those eyes, number one. Number two, you're going to be turning and hitting the nose. It could be a slap, just like this, but having that open hand, really effective. Hitting the chin, hitting the nose, hitting the zygomatic arch, hitting the TMJ, or the jaw, hitting the ear, hitting the solar plexus, right here, hitting the bladder. Those are really effective. We really avoid teaching punching because you've seen boxers, right? Boxers have gloves on. Why do they wear the gloves to protect him? No, to protect you. They put the wraps on to protect them. But this is really simple to do because it converts from going here to here. Palm to gouge. I'm holding him back with one hand. The other one I could grab. I could hammer. Hammer are different from the punches. Hammers you're hitting with this part here. Where are you going? That nose. Eyeball. Zygomatic arch. You hit that, it'll rip the skin, it'll start bleeding. You hit the ear. You hit the TMJ. Again, this is very aggressive action to get him off of you. Once he's off of you, you back in his position, that knee from the car. Remember your ABCs? Look at my elbow. My elbow is digging into the ground. This hand is on top. That knee is up. ABC again. A, brace, combatives. Hola. Now we're training in the dark because in Arizona, it's like 120 degrees during the daytime. But it also kind of works along the idea that you might get attacked at night, like we mentioned earlier. So, our combatives we're talking about relating to only using aggressive action if you have to, last resort. Say you're the passenger in the car and you're getting out, you could use your combatives, you could use your ABC, you could use the L's that we talked about, the lock, the latch, the light. Let's say he opens the door and you're stepping out of the car, and what do? You could talk your way out of it, you could diffuse the situation, de-escalate it. If you're surrounded by a bunch of people at a roadblock and they're not letting you out, and they're pulling the car, you didn't lock your door, somehow they broke the window, and now they're trying to pull you out, well, your combatives are in effect, as well as your ABCs. You would like to use the vehicle, actually, as an anchor, as a brace, instead of being outside the vehicle, which you could do as well. It's a bit more advanced training. You would have to take another class and maybe talk to Jorge about doing another class, I don't know. But the idea is that you want to defend yourself initially by talking your way out of it. That doesn't work, then go into the escalated part, dealing with the threat. Like I mentioned earlier, the threat could be a roadblock, road rage, carjacking, a robbery, ex-boyfriend, girlfriend that's following you around and now they found you and they're flipping out in the head. So here, you would do the same thing with the ABC. Using the vehicle, they're coming in, we're anchoring, bracing, you're kicking straight out, push kicks, boom, scratching them, boom, 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 hammer striking, pop, you're out. Get in the car, get out of there. Or use the car itself to feed him a little bit of the car. So, quick review. Your combatives again, you do want to de-escalate, you do want to leave. You're going to use your ABC now. You might have to use your L's in there, and then your ABC. Anchoring, bracing, combatives. Combatives being stops, going out, or straight down, vertical, horizontal, gouging, or hammers. On the body, hurt, scratches to the eyes, hammer strikes nose to nose, ear to ear. Typically, this is where you want to go. There's other body parts I'm not going to get into. That's another class. But those are what you're going to use to get out of a bad circumstance and escape to safety. Whoa, it's daytime again, and it's bloody hot here in Arizona. But let's continue. We'll be showing a couple of clips that are going to be relating to the students I teach here in Tucson, Arizona. We'll be showing you maybe a clip of some students I teach at a high school for a special program for kids going to Israel for the summer. And then we're going to also cover and show you techniques with my more advanced students that are pretty aggressive. And I would say, keep an open mind, because I'm not here to coddle you. It'd be a disservice if I did that. I'm here to expose you to different tactics and techniques. Just a foundational, fun class, because the world out there, sometimes, especially now, it's not fun. You may even see a clip of real live action carjacking attempts, blocking in, and assaults, which is sad, but we're here to learn to prevent all that, right? Keep an open mind. Here we go as we watch the clips.
Chill. Where the car keys at? Car keys right there. Car keys right there. Whoa, whoa. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, you gonna pay for the food or what?
Yeah, of course.
You're gonna pay for the food, great. So make sure you buy me some. Oh, hey, back up, dude. Back up, hey, dude.
Back up, dude.
Drive, man, drive.
¿Quiere comer algo? ¿Qué quiere comer? ¿Tiene hambre? ¿Qué le pasó, hombre? Hey, what's up, G? Yo, man, back up, dude. You don't want none of this. You do not. You want some of this? Really? For reals? I don't think so.
We made it. We made it. We got to the end of these sessions. Oh, my goodness. Good to see you, buddy. So hopefully you learned quite a bit in our elevator protection self-defense class and the basic self-defense session that we did earlier. I really thank you for joining us, and thank Jorge Elizondo, George, for actually doing these and trusting us with you doing these different type of classes. So as dancers, you know how to practice, right? Well, same thing with these sessions. We recommend folks to practice, 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 get better, better, and better. We covered quite a bit. When we're dealing with confined spaces where you can't escape, like in a car, you can't get out of there. You practice your triple L. Remember those? The lock, latch, and light. You talked about your ABCs, your anchoring, your bracing, your combatives. We talked about the second class, what to do with those combatives, different strikes that you have, right? Along with that BOLO for that VIP, a lot of acronyms. We repeat quite a bit, but have a code word. For us, I use BOLO sometimes for my students. Be on lookout. Same thing with dealing with what they have to do. Maybe their job is to call 911. Have you ever called 911? It's pretty scary sometimes because you have your neighbors screaming, you hear gunshots outside, whatever the case is. You have to calm that fear. Have that plan with LID, L-I-D, location, issue, description. 911, you're freaking out. Calm, take that breath, have a plan, LID. The location is my neighbor's house. The issue is she's screaming. D, the car that drove off was a white Pontiac. Do they still exist? I don't know. But the idea is that you have to have those plans to control yourself. We mentioned dealing with outside circumstances. When you're dealing with a bad perpetrator, it could be a thug with a skateboard at a roadblock, enraged person, road rager, you took their parking spot. Or you're dealing with a malignant. We talked about DSM, character flawed individual, NPD, BPD, borderline personality disorder individuals that have issues. We all have issues, but these are personality disorders, part of their character. They see you as an object. They use you. They abuse you and discard you. Yeah, we talk about those things too in our classes because it happens. It escalates. Or you're dealing with a druggy person at a conference, or a sociopath. They have really nice. They try to entice you. Come to my room. And they grab you and they're doing bad things. Well, what do? Your D's. Remember those? Your diffusion, de-escalation, distraction, and maybe destruction. Of course, departure. So many things, and in reference to the distraction, you could be shopping, buying some groceries, and that guy walks up to you. What can you do? diffuse, de-escalate. That's not working, boom, distraction. That's just an example. So thank you again for joining us on this adventure. We had some fun, and we will see you hopefully next year in person. Take care. Ciao, a bientôt, a tout l'heure, bayerta, cuídense todos.